Today we're going through the best weapons and ammo on the level 1 traders in Tarkov's release version, and we're going to start with the low calibers, the small underpowered calibers that typically you need to get headshots with, and we're going to move up through to the higher calibers later. So let's begin with the fast firing weapons, starting probably with the MP5. I think this is one of the staples that I quite like using early wipe. It does have some issues though, in that I find that 9mm, especially in this particular wipe, is a little bit underwhelming because a lot of people are wearing class 4 armor, so you do have to be quite confident you're going to be able to hit headshots. The MP5 itself is a little bit annoying to mod at level 1, but the main thing that you need to do is sell all of your 20 round magazines that you get given at the beginning and buy 30 rounders instead, because you can get these from Peacekeeper. Now, clearly in the release version, you're going to have to progress through the different traders to get to Peacekeeper to actually unlock him. You don't need to give him that 20,000 USD or anything, but to be able to trade with him, you have to go through the little bit of story at the beginning just to unlock each map and get each trader at least access to the trader themselves before you can buy these 30 rounders. So you don't need to go too far through, but eventually you'll unlock Peacekeeper and then you can get these 30 round magazines. Once you've done that, you can then use this mount here, the MP5 MFI HK Universal Low Profile Scope mount, and this is on Peacekeeper 1 as well, and that means that you can then add various optics and things like that to the MP5. But because of the fact that Peacekeeper's kind of locked a little bit further down the story these days, and it's kind of difficult to put a tactical device on this thing, I've actually moved away from the MP5 a little bit. And I feel that if you are going for head taps, then you may well be better off just simply going for something like the Kedda, because you can buy the Kedda straight off the bat. It's only 21,000 rubles. You get a 30 round magazine with the Kedda itself, and after that you have to use the 20s for the backups because you can't buy the 30s at Prapor 1. But the ADS speed on the Kedda is extremely high. The ammo is not very good for getting through armor, as we said, but if you're just looking for head taps, this is a very, very light gun to go in with. It only weighs 1.5 kilograms as well, which definitely helps with your maneuverability and not going overweight. One of the reasons why the Kedda can be so good for getting those head taps is that really you're just looking for high RPM and relatively low recoil, and the Kedda has 900 RPM, which actually beats out the MP5, and an honorable mention in this category too is the PPSH, the Papashah, which has a 1000 RPM. I've used this quite a lot in other wipes. I haven't used it that much this wipe, but this thing can be absolutely insane because with 1000 RPM, you just get a lot of chances to hit someone with a headshot. And the beauty of this is that at level 1 Prapor, you can already buy the 71 round drum magazine as well. This gun is not that easy to control, and it does have a lot of muzzle flare in terms of gas and smoke, so it does make it quite hard to see your target. You can just kill people with volume of fire with this thing. This is definitely another one to consider. This won't go through armor though, so don't expect to be tapping people through class 3 or class 4 chest rigs. If you've got that in mind, then you won't be disappointed. There's a couple of other weapons that are slightly slower in 9mm, which I think are designed for a bit more of control. So rather than just spraying madly at people, therefore, more sustained fire. And the first one of those is the PP19. This one is 700 RPM, which is okay. It's nice and controllable. The main issue here is you can't get any of the better handguards until a little bit later on, which does make it a bit annoying, but you can put on this rail dust cover if you want to put a sight on it. You can also use the dovetail mount as well. It's up to you as to which way you go. You can either use the Eastern style dovetail mounts, or you can use the top rail cover, put on some kind of regular sight if you want. The PP19 is very solid, has very low recoil, fires on full auto. You can buy 30 round magazines right off the bat. There's no problem with that. You can buy those easily, and so this is a really solid choice. The other one that I think is a great contender is over on Peacekeeper 1, and this one I've used in the past historically, which is the Uzi. It is a little bit expensive these days because the dollar exchange rate is currently 200, but to get Peacekeeper to level 2, you do actually have to spend a lot of money, so maybe consider using some guns from Peacekeeper. And the beauty about the Uzi is that you can put both a front rail on it, this one, Stormwerk's lower handguard rail, and you can also put this top rail on as well, the Stormwerk's scope mount, and these come both at level 1 traders. And this allows you to add a laser or a flashlight really easily and get really good point fire performance. Still these days, even though I talk about it a lot of people don't realize that having a tactical device or a flashlight on improves your point fire by quite a significant margin, and that's basically when you're just in your shoulder and you're not ADSing. It makes the recoil pattern a lot more consistent because it's pretty wild if you don't have this. This does work for flashlights as well, so long as they're not on any ring mounts, so any of these should work. I don't think the KR2 will work because it's on a separate mount, so this one won't work, I don't believe. Anything that connects directly to the rail should work. This little mount on the top, it only takes certain sights. There is a new one over on Peacekeeper that I want to point out called the Meat Pro. The Meat Pro Lite, it goes on this new little rail, and it's called the Meat Pro M21 Reflex sight. And when you put that on, this thing is like a little mini EOTech, something like that. It's pretty cool, and I'll put some footage up on screen of that. But the Uzi has got 600 RPM, which makes it really easy to control, and you don't empty your mags very quickly at all. It comes by default with a 32 round magazine, and then you can buy 25s after that as a backup. So in an out and out fight, you may just get head tapped by somebody else, but if you want a bit more sustain, then this weapon could be for you. Sticking with the theme of SMGs, let's move up now to the UMP. Now, you can't buy the UMP directly from Peacekeeper until you get to Peacekeeper level 2, but you could do the knife barters with him, and incidentally, you can do this for the MP5 as well if you want to buy that. I should have mentioned that earlier, but I didn't. So the UMP, you do need 4 of these black handled knives and 1 bayonet as usual. And usually over on Fence, if you do just really want to go and get the UMP, you can actually just go and buy these directly. So you can go and buy one of these bayonets from Fence for 20k. You can go and buy 4 of these black handled knives for 18k. So this makes the UMP cost about 40,000 rubles, which for its performance, I actually think is pretty good. This is somewhat similar to the Uzi, but even better actually, because you already have rails and everything already set. You can add a vertical foregrip on this right away, like the cheap one from Peacekeeper, to just add some extra ergo. You can add pretty much any sight that you like on the top, which is awesome, and you can add lasers and flashlights as you wish on either side of the weapon. The only thing to be a little careful about is some of the very low microdots. The front sight might get in the way a little bit, so try to use something that's a little lifted up, and if you do that, then you should be fine. Something like the MRS should work, but have a little play around with it. Make sure you test it out at the shooting range before you go into raid. Now, you only get 25 round magazines. This also has a very slow fire rate, kind of like the Uzi, with 600 RPM. But the big difference with the UMP is that the bullets are actually really good for level 1. Normally, we're used to using Match FMJ, but that's only at Peacekeeper 2. But the Laser Match, which is an ammo that we don't normally use, has 76 damage and 19 penetration. This puts it on very similar standing to M882, which is the USEC 9mm that you get given at the beginning, and 76 damage is crazy. If you go and look at your character's HP, 76 damage means that any unprotected limbs get blacked in a single shot, which is terrifying to fight against. As soon as you shoot at them, you hit them on the arm, they're not going to be able to aim as well, you hit them in the leg, they need to now be painkillered all the time. It's actually really, really dangerous to fight against in the early stages of the wipe. And 19 pen will also go through class 2 soft armor on the thorax, and if you hit somebody there, they're going to have some real trouble because that's going to hit for about 60 into their thorax, so you can easily two-shot somebody through the neck as well. Outside of this, it doesn't need much modding at all, works really well straight out of the box, 25 round magazines, you can just buy straight away as well. I think the UMP actually is really quite decent. Now there's one weapon that keeps intriguing me, and I check on it every single wipe, which is the 9A91 you can get on Prepper 1, and this is our very first 9x39 weapon. And the reason why I keep checking on this is because 9x39 is typically really hard hitting. Some of the ammo in here is renowned as being some of the best ammo in the entire game, like SP6, SPP, and even SP5, which is really nice at Prepper level 2. We'll come on to that in the next video at level 2 traders. So early on, you can only buy 9x39 FMJ, which does 75 damage and 17 pen. But the issue is that we've just looked at the UMP, and when you check the laser match stats, this has got more penetration and 1 more damage. So you may as well just use the UMP. There are lots of downsides that come with using something like the 9A91, such as the small magazine sizes, because you can only have 20 rounds in here. It has 700 RPM, which is slightly higher, but 9x39 is notorious for overheating, and the recoil on this gun is also really high. It's annoying to mod, it's hard to put a laser on, you can only do that really by putting a dovetail mounted scope mount like the Cobra, which allows you to put these things on, but it's a very awkward weapon to use. I think the UMP is far better, and for the price that you get this thing at 41k, you may as well just buy the knives from Fence and use the UMP instead. So next up, we're going to move on to the intermediate caliber rifles, and I have become convinced at this point, after using this for many wipes, that the AK-74U is hands down the best gun early wipe by far, by a long way. And there's a few reasons for this. Firstly, the longer AKs struggle to be modded because you can't get the right handguards to fit on things like vertical foregrips or lasers. It's all just a little bit tricky at level 1 traders. But the AK-74U has enough parts to build out a fully modded gun early on if you want, and that's partly because you're able to buy the B11 handguard. So when you put this on, you can put a vertical foregrip of your choice on. This allows you to use the Knight's Armament vertical foregrip here, and then on the side you can put a laser or a flashlight as you wish to improve your point fire. If you really want to min-max it, you can change over to the AK-74 muzzle for 1 less recoil, but I don't usually bother. And the big deal with this is that you can change over the rail to this thing, the Pilgrim, and this comes from Skier 1, and this allows you to then add a sight of your choice. You can pick anything, like the one that we were looking at before, the Micro, or something else, or if you pick up something good like the XPS3, you can use that instead. Now the reason why this is so decent, and especially this wipe, I actually felt this even more this wipe, is because you pick up so much good ammo for the 74U, it's unbelievable. Right off the rip, the ammo actually is not very great. If you go and look on a link search to see which ammos you can buy, some of these I can get because now I'm level 2 traders, but US is the best that you can buy at Prapor level 1, and this only has 17 pen, 65 and 17, so you kind of may as well use the UMP rather than using this particular gun. But the beauty about this is that you can find so much good ammo in raid, and if we just go and have a quick look, I've been going to USEC camp and some of the new camps, and I've been finding more ammo than I ever normally find. Using the new item search filter, we can go and look at ammo, and you can put 545 in here, and you can see the unbelievable amount of good bullets that I've got. I've got stacks and stacks of BP, I've got BT, I've got PP, I've got PS, which is honestly no slouch. This is like M855 for the 556 weapons, and in the first week of the wipe, this is totally fine. I've got a couple of bits of PPVS, which is a golden. This is the super high pen ammo that has a 62 pen and goes through all armor in the game. I have a little bit of 7 and 40, so you can find boxes of these good magazines all over the place. I've been finding loads of them on Woods, on Interchange, in the new camps. There's lots of places where you can get this stuff, and this makes the 74U so good. Pick up a couple of stacks of these boxes, top load them over things like PS and US just to conserve on ammo. And then if you meet somebody, you're going to beam straight through their class 4 armor and kill them before they even know what happened. This gun is a beast, and at this point I'm absolutely convinced that it's the best gun once you find a couple of boxes of ammunition out in raid. Now the alternative is 556. Typically you're only going to be using this if you are playing USEC, because you get a whole bunch of M855, which is pretty good. It's a bit like PS. It's got around 30 pen, which means it'll deal with class 3 no problem. The only thing that you can really use is the M4s early, which have issues until you've done some of the gunsmiths, because you need to use the gas blocks to make the front irons lower. I'll show you this on one of these M4s that I've kept. I've not really used them this wipe. So here what you'd want to do is take off the charging handle, and then on the front post, once you've completed gunsmith part 1, you get access to this thing, the wind and weaponry rail gas block, and you can see it says it's not available for purchase, but it is because there's some kind of bug right now. So you buy one of these for 5,000 rubles, and you stick this on instead, and then you can actually see over the front post and put this on. But it has quite high recoil, and the M4 in its stock configuration isn't really that great. So one gun that I have been using quite a bit is the AUG. I use this because Ref asked me to do it for some of the arena quests, and in the early wipe this is actually quite powerful. Like, the scope's not really that good, but no one's really running powered optics in any particular way, so having this little scope on there genuinely isn't that bad. The only big problem with the AUG is that you're not able to put on any lasers or anything at this point with the AUG A1, because some of the parts that allow it to be interchangeable come later on Peacekeeper 3 and things like that, so that makes it a little tricky. But for certain maps where you're outside a lot and you're engaging people at medium ranges, the AUG genuinely isn't actually that terrible. The biggest issue with it by far is that you can only buy 10 round magazines from Peacekeeper. So if you run out of magazines with this thing, you're actually really in trouble. Now when Ref asks you to do his quest with the AUG, then he does give you a bunch of different magazines so you can try it out. But once you've run out of mags, until you get up to Peacekeeper 2 to be able to buy the 30 rounders, you may as well just sell them for the time being. Same thing kind of goes for if you run out of M855 ammo. The alternatives for bullets in these particular calibers is really limited early on. Peacekeeper's RRLP with 11 pen just doesn't cut it, so you may as well go back to one of the SMGs rather than trying to brute force your way through using 556. So next we're going to move up to 762 by 39, and there's a selection of different weapons that you can buy early on. The main one being the SKS. Now this has the classic issue of the starting bullets not being very good. If we go and look at the ammo here, you can only buy SP and HP at the beginning, and FMJ once you get to Prep Or 2, which is not even that great. So you're kind of stuck with SP with a 20 pen. So again, you may as well have something with a higher rate of fire, and is a bit easier to control rather than trying to brute force your way through here. So I've not really used these that much. However, the difference is, a bit like the 74U, once you find a few pieces of ammo in raid, things like T45M or PS, or even something better like PP and BP, then you can be very effective with this. And one of the things about 762 is you do find scavs with T45M and PS quite a lot. And that's when you get up to the penetrations able to take on even class 4 armor. So the choice here really is either the SKS, you can buy a basic one from Prepor, or you can buy a more advanced one from Jaeger. The issue that I have with the SKS is it's just slightly annoying to mod, and the magazines are really expensive over on Peacekeeper. So if you look here, the 20 round mags, which you kind of want, I don't think you really want to be top loading. You can, but I don't think you really want to be. This is the equivalent of about 15,000 rubles right now, which is really a lot of money. And so I think you're probably better off picking something else, such as the VPO 136 from Skier. It's a little bit more expensive to start with. Now I did say earlier that we have some issues with the various handguards. Can't get the AK-100 handguard straight away, so it's a bit difficult to put vertical foregrips on. But a bit like the 74U, you can put on the Bastion cover at level 1. And this allows you to at least put a sight on it. And the beauty here is that you're then able to get 20 round magazines quite cheaply from the trader, which are these guys. Although unfortunately buying 30s isn't available until Prep Or 2. This is one big reason why I've stuck with the 545 weapons rather than moving up to the 762 guns, because by the time that I've got there I typically am running something else. But this is certainly an option if you find the ammo for it. The other alternative is 366 TKM. There's two weapons in here. You have the VPO 215 Gornestay, which is the bolt action rifle, and also the VPO 209, which is kind of like the VPO 136 except chambered in 366 instead. And some of the 366 bullets are actually pretty decent. At the start you're only able to buy TKM FMJ and Gexa, but TKM FMJ is 98 damage and 23 pen, which can be really brutal, and Gexa is 110 damage with 14 pen. So I'd always go for the one with the higher penetration, because this allows you to get through neck armor, and somebody actually killed me the other day with one shot to the neck and one shot to the arm using the VPO 215, despite the fact I had class 4 armor on, which was really quite annoying. And then a sneak preview up to level 2 traders gets you the 30 pen EKO. So this can be pretty decent. Again, I haven't really used it this wipe that much because I feel like there's probably better alternatives. But if you do want to be hard hitting, those weapons can be a sensible choice for you. One of the interesting things about the VPO 209 is that it's one of the only weapons, and the 215 as well, that can be suppressed and is a full rifle caliber right off the word go, because this thing still has a skier purchase for the Rotor 43 sound suppressor. It is nearly 50k, so it depends whether you think that going suppressed and not being able to be heard over 100 meters away is worth it. That is quite powerful, honestly, especially early white when everybody else is unsuppressed, but I'll leave that up to your choice. Depends on how much money you've got, how much you got to spend on your loadout. So you will notice that I haven't mentioned pistols and shotguns at all. I just think that they're not really worth it unless you are doing a pure loot run for pistols in particular, and you don't think you're going to meet anybody, because the fact that you're just not able to get enough shots off downrange with good bullets and with a high enough rate of fire means you're probably going to lose. I think you either need to have good bullets or you need high rate of fire, one of the two, and pistols don't really give either. Some people love them, they don't really work for my playstyle. I think I'd rather somebody take an Uzi or a Kedda or something like that, something cheap with a fast rate of fire to at least give you a standing chance in a firefight. And the other one is with the shotguns. There are a couple that you get from Jaeger 1, but you don't actually have that much choice, and none of them are properly semi-automatic. The closest that you get to that is probably this, the MTS 255, the revolver shotty, but even that is like quite hard to use, and early on it's really inconsistent. You have to hit them in the face, you have to hit them with usually with 2 pellets unless you're using Magnum buckshot, and I don't really start using shotguns at all until at least Jaeger 2, where you can buy Piranha, which is the dart ammo that goes through armor very easily. All of the buckshots just get caught by armor, and because people are quite geared up this wipe in particular, because the loot is pretty plentiful, there's lots of class 4 armor around, I feel like you're going to have a bad time with buckshot unless you get lucky with some headshots. So there you have it, that's my rundown for this wipe in the release version of Tarkov in 1.0. As I said, I think the AK-74U is hands down the best. The ammo for it is just second to none. You find so much for it, and it's really powerful, decent rate of fire, the recoil is controllable, and it is slightly moddable as well. So as usual, big shout out to all my patrons, and as always, have fun in your raids.